Okay, presentations, the remainder of them today, and then next week we have Tuesday off, Thanksgiving week. I'll lecture for a while, then after that we'll wrap up with our presentations. Who else is left? Should present. So I'll lecture for a bit just to kind of wrap up social-emotional development and early adolescence, because I think it's important stuff that you all are experiencing now, so we'll kind of touch on that. Okay, social-emotional development. We talked about this last class. We say, hey, we have distinct personality types. We have attachment styles that were created from our childhood experiences, and we have our self-concept that's kind of ever evolving. So we have a lot of challenges, a lot of changes in your age group. One, you're trying to think of how do you create relationships, what kind of relationships you want to have with people. Healthy relationships, if you know yourself, if you're unsure about yourself, maybe unhealthy relationships. Are we building intimacy versus isolation because of our sort of experiences with our parents? Right? If we're intimate, then we're trusting, right? We're very trusting. We give people a benefit of the doubt. Right? The glass is half full, not half empty. Right? If we're isolated because of that mistrust we have with our parents, then we are not trusting. People are bad. People can't be trusted. I'm not giving you the benefit of the doubt. Right? You got to prove it to me. Right? And we walk around life with all of us, whether it be a romantic partner, friendships, new people, strangers, people you work with, family, etc., etc. Right? So we're like, hey, there's a lot of things that take place because of our childhood. But all new challenges for you. Dating, right? So you're like, hey, dating, sex life, friendships, right? Bonding with people. How do you react? Are you open? Are you honest? Are you communicative? Are you authentic? Are you a liar, deceiver, manipulator because you don't trust and you want to get what you want to get, right? Are you establishing boundaries with people, right? Are you having healthy boundaries? All these sorts of things that happen in this segment, right? So we say, hey, very unstable period. People are changing where they live. Stay with mom and dad's, now you may be staying with a friend, staying at a dorm, get your own apartment. Changes in romantic relationships, things are getting serious now, right? People can get pregnant, you get someone pregnant, right? You have sexually transmitted diseases, sexually transmitted infections, right? There's a lot of consequences, emotional things, right? Consent, right? You have things involving really serious things, and prevalence of mental health disorders in this area. So we kind of talk about this stuff. I'll briefly go through it. It's like, hey, you know what? You're in the phase of exploring who you are. You may be uncertain. Big range, 18 years old to 30 years of age. So you're like, there could be some uncertainty depending on where you're at. You may have an awesome career already. You may have a condo, house, a family, children, travel the world, cars, or you may not. You may be at home, but you're staying with your parents. You want to be independent. You tell them, leave you alone, give you some privacy, but they're also like, well, I'm paying for your college under my roof. They're not completely independent, even though you may be over the age of 18, et cetera, et cetera. You're like kind of unstable, and you're trying to find yourself. You're exploring. Maybe you're exploring with new types of people, trying to have different types of friends, different types of relationships, right? So a lot of things are changing. So we talked about, hey, you may be developing a moral identity now, right? Like, hey, you know what? You may feel that strong sense of right and wrong than you previously had before. Maybe you were more agreeable to things. But now you have a sort of strong moral identity. You have a value system. You may have a stronger religious identity, or you may have left your previous religious identity. You're like, God, that was mom and dad. I thought about it, I read about it, did some research. I don't really agree with that. Religious-based sort of philosophy on life. Political identity, right? Obviously in our country, people are strong, politics have become the new religion essentially. So people strong in their political values and political ideals. Gender and sexual identity, right? So you're like, hey, things change. You're exploring. Once again, you're exploring. You're trying to figure out gender expression, gender roles, right? Masculinity versus femininity. You may disagree with what your culture says about these different types of roles and who should do what, how, when, or with whom, right? And ethnic racial identity, right? Either you are kind of cleaving on to more of it and you're like, I have a strong sense of my ethnic and racial identity, or you could say, not so much. It's not that big of a factor. It's more important just kind of who you are as a person altogether, right? Intimacy and commitment, big. You may want to get married. But she's like, hey, let me give it a test run. We will live together. And what we kind of know is when people cohabitate, right, this idea of cohabitation, things get tricky. Some of the research suggests if you cohabitate for maybe over 2 years, the likelihood of your marriage, your future marriage, may go down.
Yeah,
right? Kind of like, hey, if you cohabitate for too long, divorce rates go up. Why? Because a person, think about this. A person is kind of like, I don't know, we'll wait and see. Let's see what happens. You're like, marriage is not a wait and see what happens type of deal. It's a lifelong commitment. It's really serious. Like, literally, almost bonding you by blood, becoming a family, right? So, things like that. People are like, hey, I want to explore, right? I want to see, I want to wait. There's a correlation between that and maybe marriage, right? And how it will work out. Other things, intimacy. Establishing what you're comfortable with. What are you comfortable with when it comes to intimate romantic relationships? What are you uncomfortable with? Do you communicate this? Right? What are people's goals and ends for dating? Some people are casual daters. Some people are serious daters, right? And now with the advent of online dating, you're like, well, it makes it all tricky. One, you've opened yourself up to a multitude of people like never before in human history. Right? You could have whoever you want. Multiple ethnicities, age ranges, backgrounds, blah, 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 right? Two is very easily to get rid of people too as well too. So we say pros and cons. Pro, maybe you can attach to people you wouldn't have communicated with or attached to in the first place because you never had a means to do so. Second part is you get people who ghost. You get people who lie, manipulate, deceive. You get people very superficial, just looking at photos, could care less about the rest, right? Other people who have very intense kind of viewpoints on committed relationship, but not communicating it. So now you're kind of learning about really communication, right? You're also learning too about picking up on subtle cues and signs that maybe people don't fit you. Maybe they're liars. Maybe they're cheaters. Maybe you can pick this up, right? A lot of heartache also in this time frame, right? So what other challenges could you think of now when it comes to the dating world that everyone maybe in your group is experiencing? And what challenges are happening? Yes?
Like a lot of well, what I've noticed is like nobody's really emotionally intelligent or available enough right now. Like, men are really focused and stressed. Obviously, like in the emerging adulthood stage, focused on work, making money, like, am I enough? Like, they have their own anxieties. And then women, like, maybe not knowing how to, like, support a man, like, the right way. Like, I think right now, like, might not be, not to say that nobody can have a serious relationship, because obviously a relationship you start and you build from there, but, like, it would be, there's, like, we're all in the crucial stage right now, like, figuring ourselves out, building our bridge.
Yeah. They're figuring out. Hey, what you're kind of learning is like, hey, there is differences between the sexes, right? There are some differences in how men communicate, how women communicate, expectations, et cetera, right? What you may be finding out is like, hey, men are not as emotionally expressive as maybe I would like them to, right? But for a host of reasons, men are not as emotionally expressive. One, if a man tends to may view masculinity in terms of maybe problem-solving skills, meaning that they feel that they can solve their own problems. Therefore, they don't spread about how they feel emotionally to a lot of other people. They may find that to be a non-masculine trait, right? And so that might be a problem for a woman because a lot of females may be, emotionally centered, right? We don't talk anymore. We rarely talk. And the guy's like, who cares? We're good. We can still go out. Let's go out and have fun. So men may be more kind of gravitate towards the funness of the relationships, where women may gravitate maybe towards more emotionally centered aspect, how I feel inside, right? And connection, emotional connection, how I feel connected to you. I don't feel connected to you anymore because we don't talk as deep. I don't know what's going on with you. You don't really communicate in a very healthy way, et cetera, right? So now you got issues. But now we're kind of figuring it out, right? Going through the phase of figuring out, okay, I'm starting to see the patterns here. Masculine, feminine interactions, what comes up, what happens to that degree. Some people may, be postponing intimacy. Like, hey, you know what? Make sure I'm healthy first and financially, spiritually, in other ways. So this happens to be a thing all across the world. And we see it to kind of be an issue with reproductive rates. Not as many human beings are being produced as they were in the past, right? Say by a percentage, right? Let's not say overall, we say that 7.5 billion human beings. But in Japan is experiencing low birth rates, right? People aren't having children anymore. And not only that, people are not having children, people aren't having sex. Not only that, people aren't even dating. People are just focused on themselves, trying to build themselves up, be their best version of themselves, live their best lives. Right? So things are changing. Internet and social media may be a reason for that, right? We may all want to achieve certain things with our identity before we move on to the realm of intimacy. All right, we talked about attachment. We say some of us have secure, some of us are insecure avoidant, some are insecure resistant. Usually came from our parents. We may have anxieties in relationships. Others may be more secure with these things. Casual sex, hooking up culture, right? That could be a thing too. Double standards for women, right? Men are kind of praised for hooking up. Women may feel that they're being shamed that many times for this thing, right? If they're both kind of consenting. Sexual coercion and assault, this happens quite a bit too. Think about if alcohol is involved as well too, or some sort of other substance. A lot of is non-consensual, right? There's some high degree of prevalence occurring, especially on college campuses, things like that, right? We're talking about long-term post-traumatic stress disorder from sexual assault and other influences that can be impacted. Mate selection, right? Role of attractiveness. Physical attraction plays a huge part. So does sex play a huge part when we're talking about healthy relationships. Kind of an old mindset is like, once people stop having sex, the relationship's over, especially in marriages, right? They kind of can see that as a clear indicator, right? Because physical attraction is a significant part of the human experience. So, mate selection. Attractiveness matters, physical attractiveness, right? But also other kind of features of attractiveness. People may say, hey, you know what, I'm sapiosexual. People like intelligent people, right? Attracted by intelligence, who are very savvy types of people, right? Or even humor. Similarity in attractiveness actually predicts satisfaction, which usually means people who have similar attractiveness to one another stay in relationships longer, right? What usually happens is someone is viewed, may say, universally highly attractive, and someone in that same relationship is the opposite. A can create significant problems. One person may get a ton of attention that makes up the partner uncomfortable, right? Other things happen, envy, jealousy, right? Jealousy can occur, right? So usually it's good to pick someone of similarity or attractiveness, right? Multi-ethnic relationships are beginning to spread more, obviously, because of the internet and dating websites, social media. People are dating outside of their ethnic groups. Okay, we'll kind of talk about some of this stuff. All right, I'll end there so we have enough time. And so